Hello, everybody. My name is Tiandra Hamilton. I am a student here at Paul College, and I am going to be talking to you today about the scientific method, chemistry, water, carbon, and macromolecules. And by the end of this, I will be explaining all these things and how all these things kind of tie in together with us in everyday life. So let's begin by starting about the scientific method. Get myself together here, people. What is the scientific method? So picture yourself just sitting at the house by yourself and you just start to think. And have you ever just like kind of looked out the window and you start to question certain things about life? Like maybe, how can I blow a big bubble out of bubbles? You stick the stick in the thing, you make the bubbles. Or you might even think, I wonder, how do plants grow? This is what starts to begin to put you in the path of getting a scientific method. If you want to know the answers, like I say, you create the scientific method. And it's basically a guide to how to answer that question. So like I said, how do plants grow? So if you want to create the scientific method, you just need to follow these 6 easy steps. The first thing is to, like we already said, 1, ask a question. We've already done that. How do plants grow? The second thing would be to do is to 2, make an observation. What is an observation? It's basically you doing some studying about the question that you ask. You can find this information on the internet, in a book. You can even go out and ask people or get information from different sources. The third thing to do is to form a hypothesis. It might be spelled a little wrong, but let's go ahead and fix that. What is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is an educated guess that you are trying to figure out about the question you asked, like how do plants grow? A hypothesis could be, I think that plants grow just by you just watering them every day. That's an educated guess. So that's how that could be your hypothesis. I think it's just by watering them every day. Your fourth step would be to design an experiment. So from your hypothesis, you said, I think I would water them every day. So your experiment would be watering the plants every day. But with watering them, you would probably say, well, with this day, I have a group of plants here and I have a group of plants here. With these plants, I'm gonna water them with tap water. And then the other one, you might say, I'm not gonna use tap water, I'm gonna use mineral water. That's how you start to conduct your experiment. So then the next step would be to analyze. How do you analyze things and collect your data? It's analyzing data. So basically this is just when you're conducting the experiment, like I say, you're watering them. Each day or each week, you're just collecting and writing down what you notice by watering those plants each day. The 6th and final step would be your conclusion. This conclusion is going to be what has answered your first question. How do plants grow? And it was based on your hypothesis, which was the educated guess of watering them. Your conclusion is going to be all these things that you collected to get your question that you asked. And that is basically the scientific method. Now moving on to the next topic that we said we're going to talk about, and that is chemistry. Chemistry is actually one of my favorite things. I like to mix things up and, find different things to do. Chemistry is basically what we use in everyday life. Chemistry is what they call the study of everything. It's like the study of matter. Just to give you a simple explanation of what chemistry is, I really don't have to write it down. I'll just tell you. We use chemistry every day. Everybody goes into your kitchen every day and you are making things to eat. You're actually performing chemistry. The best example I can give is if you like to drink Kool-Aid. So Kool-Aid is, you need a pitcher of water, you need the packet of the Kool-Aid, and you need sugar. When you pour the packet of Kool-Aid into the pitcher, and then you pour in the sugar and you mix it all up, you just created chemistry. That is just plain and simple. Now let's talk about water. Water is very, very, very much so important. We all need water. We actually need water to survive. Did you guys know that water is made up of 60% of our body? And even more importantly, how you know that water is so amazing, 71% of the earth that we live in is made up of water. You must drink a lot of water to live. So let's actually go ahead and talk about the carbon and the macromolecules as well, since we're here with water. And I can tell you how all these things tie in together, even with chemistry and scientific method. We already know chemistry is mixing things. We already talked about creating a scientific method. All these things go hand in hand. So water. For this, I'm gonna draw a little diagram here for you guys. So let's say this is the sun. And don't y'all laugh at me because I'm not a good artist, okay? These are clouds. And this is like the lakes and the oceans and things over here. And we're gonna say over here is just a little bit of land. We're gonna call that grass right here, okay? So, let me tell you how all these things tie together. The water and the carbon and the macromolecules. So, like I said, the earth is made up of 70% of water. This is where it all starts. The sun is shining down, gets really hot outside. The sun shines down to the water. The water kind of heats up and it begins to evaporate. We're not gonna get too deep, but it's kind of a thing called precipitation and all that, but it kind of evaporates up. And then they say what goes up must come down. But once it goes up and there's some things that happens up there, then you have carbon molecules that are inside of the clouds. These C's are carbon. C is for carbon, okay guys? So everybody knows what we associate with clouds. So clouds, we think rain. So when it rains outside, guess what happens? The water that's coming out of the clouds have the carbon inside of it. So guess what? It's raining carbon. Carbon's coming down. Goes back into the lakes, but guess where else the carbon rain goes to? It also goes into the grass, goes all over the earth. And this is where carbon and macromolecules kind of tie in. So, like I said, the carbon's in the grass now. So guess what? The grass is where we grow our plants. That's where the animals eat. Remember, there's carbon now that's in the water, once again, that the fish are in the water in the lakes, and we eat fish, we eat chicken, we eat all those things. And the animals are feeding off of this water that has the carbon molecules in it. So that's where the macromolecules come into place. Macromolecules, when you think of macromolecules, think food. I'll write that down here. Macromolecule is the same thing as food. So, when you're eating your food, you're taking in these macromolecules, and there's 4 different type of macromolecules, okay? So one of them is carbohydrates. An example of a carbohydrate, I have it right here. It is cake. This is birthday cake. They call this carbs, but carbohydrates are like cakes, donuts, pies. That's one of the first macromolecules. The second macromolecule is called a lipid. What are lipids? It's basically fat. Example, here's a stick of butter. Like I said earlier today, how all this thing is gonna tie in together. These things you have in your everyday home, we use them every day. Fat, lipid. The next macromolecule would be protein. Protein is simply chicken. If you like to eat chicken, if you eat fried chicken, you're getting your protein. If you eat eggs, protein. And the last macromolecule is the nucleic acid. What is nucleic acid? Nucleic acid is what makes up your DNA. DNA is who you are, what makes up your body. So an example of DNA is everybody has specific things that are about them, like maybe their eye color or the color of their skin. All that is what macromolecules are. All those 4 things: the carbohydrate, the lipids, the protein, the nucleic acid. All that is what make that all up. So, and that is how we tied everything together. So from the very beginning, we talked about the scientific method. We talked about chemistry. We talked about water. We talked about carbon. And lastly, we talked about the macromolecules and how I told you how all those things tie into everyday life. So next time you go outside or you go into your kitchen, you drink a cup of water, you eat a piece of cake, then you will understand how the scientific method, chemistry, water, carbon, and macromolecules all work for everyday life. Thank you.